couple weeks back, we started a series of maintenance videos for the off season, and we got a lot of good comments on that. And I believe it was I don't know if it was the front end alignment video or the front suspension video. One of those we had somebody comment on, ask what the proper way to tie the car down in the trailer was when you're transporting to the races, which we kind of missed it, but that's a really good question because we get lots of cars in here. We get cars in every week, in and out of the trailers. And surprisingly, you know, these cars are expensive, and when they come in here, a lot of times they've got the crappiest tie-down ratchet straps, axle straps, or just some cheesy-ass piece of crap that they got from parts store tying the car down, which is, to me, is just incredibly asinine. A lot of money in these cars, a lot of work, a lot of time. The last thing you want to do is tie it down with some imported piece of junk and stop at a rest stop and find out that it came loose. So we're going to go over a couple tips here on tying the car down and how to properly fasten it in the trailer and what to use, because obviously guys don't know what to use. They think you can buy these 1-inch ratchet straps and tie the car down with. It's absolutely wrong. So on our chassis, we have tie downs. On the rear end housing, we've got a tie down loop on each side at the 4-link bracket, and on the front of the chassis, we have a 180-degree tie down loop. Those are made specifically to tie the car down with. A couple items we use. We've got two things here. We've got an axle strap, which this is a really nice 24-inch axle strap. We have these custom made for us because they have a smaller little loop on the end here, which makes it really easy to fit through the chassis. But these are also folded back and sewn almost 8 inches back into this double strap here. And then it's got this sleeve on the outside of it, so it's got like a double wear sleeve, and then it's stitched into place also. So this is an axle strap, this is a ratchet strap. Okay. This is rated at 5,000 pounds each. These are rated at 10,000 pounds each. Now these are really nice high-end pieces. They have a twisted hook on them so that when you strap them onto the car and you hook them onto here, that they turn the right direction. They're not kind of laid on their side and all twisted up. And they also have this really nice retention clip here. I would say almost 90% of the time that cars come in here, they've got this little retention clip jacked up and bent over, and they're pinched back tight like this where they don't even work. Well, these things are made so that if the ratchet strap slacks up a little bit, it won't fall off and let the car come loose. So these need to function properly. These are nice and heavy. These are much heavier than what you will normally see on a strap that is of a lesser quality. And they've got this really nice little thumb actuation here, so you can just pull it back and snap it over. So these are super, super nice. So first thing you want to do is use an axle strap, because this hooked onto the chassis is metal against metal, and it's going to wear the plating, it's going to wear the tubing. I mean, we powder coat the chassis, we plate the rear end housings, all this stuff is finished nice. The last thing you want to do is hook some steel hook on it that's going to wear on it going down the road, because the car's going to move around, this stuff's going to cut into that. So you use this piece. This slips through that loop and couples back together like this, and then this is going to go in here. Okay, this is how this goes. So on the back of the housing here, we have 2 loops that we're going to tie into, and you always want to tie the car in an X fashion. So you want to X the rear and X the front. That keeps the car in the center of the trailer. That way when it's bouncing down the road and hitting potholes and stuff, the car's not moving around. So what I mean by an X is that we're going to hook to the left rear hook here, and we're going to fasten it to the right rear D-ring in the trailer. So when I use this, I'm going to fish this through here, and then this will go just like that. And then, of course, these wheelie bars are short on here, so this is kind of in the way, but on a normal set, that would be out of the way. So now you're going to hook that hook in here like this and go right back to the D-ring in the floor of the trailer. The D-ring is another thing to pay attention to. A lot of times we see D-rings come in here, and sometimes they're put in with lag bolts and lag screws and some kind of sheet metal crap. I mean, they need to be bolted into something solid so that you can ratchet the car down tight. So we've got an axle strap on. We're going to hook the ratchet strap to it. We're going to pull some slack out of that, and then we're going to ratchet this thing up tight. These that we sell are really nice. These are USA made. This is top quality stuff. They got a nice heavy handle on them. This is no junk hardware here. These are made for tying down nice cars with. This is not some junk that you'll find at Home Depot or Lowe's. So 4 of these 4 axle straps to tie this car down with, okay? And we're gonna exit in the front and exit in the back. All right, so we've got the car strapped down in the trailer. The next thing I want to talk about is this bladder system, okay? So you guys have spent all this money, and here recently, over the last 3, 4, 5 years, the rear shocks and the front struts have become a critical part on these cars. You guys are spending a lot of money on these things, getting them revalved and the latest triple, double throwdown shit that goes in these things. It's expensive to put these shocks on here. Well, when these cars go, when you're riding up and down the road and you're bouncing up and down these highways with all the damn potholes in them, the chassis is moving up and down. So that's just driving this piston up and down in this shock, and it's wearing out this $10,000 set of shocks that you just put on the car. So the only time you want these shocks to be moving up and down is on the racetrack. So traveling up and down the road a couple thousand miles and this shaft bouncing up and down, if you were to stop and crawl into the car and grab the shocks, you'd feel they would be hot because of all the fluid movement in there. And we're putting unnecessary wear on a very expensive part of the car. And these are fine adjustment items here. This is not some 4-link rod end we're talking about. These are real, it's got all kinds of little small parts inside of it, and they're very intricate, okay? So we don't need this beating itself to death going down the road. So when you get to the track, these things need to be in perfect working order and not just like they went through the Baja 1000 and wore the hell out. So the bladder system is designed, I like to use 2 of these. I like one in the rear and one in the front. And what this is this is a big air bladder here. It's got a hose on it, and once we strap the car down, we're gonna slide this under the back of the car, and the rear one we're gonna put right under the rear cross member here, right by the 4-link bracket, this rear cross member tube. We're gonna kind of center that up on there. Now, you have to watch, so if you have a belly pan in the car and it's on the bottom here, you don't wanna get that bladder too far forward so that it will push up on the floor. You want it pushing up on the rear cross member. Okay, so we're gonna put that back here and make sure the center of it is just behind the rear cross member so that there's no pressure on the floor. And it takes an air hose. It's got this little valve on it, so this is gonna stick out the back of the car. So we're gonna slide that into the car. This is gonna stick out the back. Take your air chuck, turn the valve on. So we're gonna fill it through this little Schrader valve here. So we're gonna fill this up, and this thing's gonna blow up. And you don't need to raise the car up off the floor of the trailer. You just need to raise it up and put a little tension on it. See, it's pretty tight. Put a little tension on that rear cross member so that you got some support there, so that now the car, the main part of the chassis, is floating on this air bladder instead of riding up and down on the shocks. So you'll see the back of the car will start to raise up just a little bit, and then you can stop right there. And once you've aired it up to that point, you want to shut this valve right here. Okay? Now we've kind of locked this in. So you're ready to transport, you get to the track and you're ready to unload the car. We're gonna open this valve, and then this is a little bleed off here, so we're just gonna pull this out and let the air out of it, and then grab the thing by the hose and slide it out from under the car. It's rubber on the top and the bottom, so it won't move around. It's very durable. Things like got some kind of tire rubber that it's made out of, but it's very, very tough. I like this in the front and the back. We'll put it up under the front cross member and the rear cross member, and we'll put a little tension on the bottom of that chassis. So if you think about it and spend some time and look at what we're talking about here, we're talking about spending a little bit of money to tie down this $500,000 race car you got in your trailer. It's not that much of an investment, but this is nice quality material. It's all USA made. It is very high-end stuff. I mean, you're not going to find this stuff anywhere. These are designed for this job, okay? So we got ratchet straps, axle straps, and a couple of bladders. Very simple items. You get to the track, fold these things up, push them over to the side, lean these up against the wall of your trailer so it's ready to go when you leave. They last forever. You can't wear them out. They're very tough, very durable, but well worth the money. At the very minimum, use one. At the very, very minimum, use one under the rear cross member. 2 is better just because it keeps the front of the car from bouncing up and down too, because you've got a lot more movement in the back when you're going up and down the road, but the front is need to be supported also. So again, if you got any questions, just give us a call.